Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jarvis Sam Show. I am your host, Jarvis Sam. Thanks for tuning in this week. Wherever you're tuning in from, please stop what you're doing and smash the subscribe button. That way you can get notifications each and every time we drop an episode. It's nice to be back. It's nice to, it was also nice to have a little time off. I took about a week and a half off just to have some downtime to disconnect, as well as it was kind of forced downtime, to be honest with you, because I was having technical difficulties the last couple of times that I went to record and needed to get those kinks out and to iron it out. I don't know, it just came out of nowhere. But sometimes I feel that God will just force you to rest or take time off. And the time ended up being really, really productive. And I was able to clear my mind, kind of get my mind right and refocus. One of the takeaways I got from the downtime was I'm no longer going to release on Sundays. I'm going to now release on Tuesdays. So each Tuesday you will get a new episode. So we're moving from Sundays to Tuesdays. So that was a moment of clarity I had during the downtime, as well as just fresh show topics. And excited about the Patreon episodes I have coming up. So next thing I need you to do, I need you to go hit the Patreon. I'll have the link for the Patreon in the description box, wherever you're getting it from. It's only $5 a month, and really inspiring and powerful content that is on there. So yeah, check out the Patreon. Follow me on Instagram. That's Jarvis Sam _ on Instagram. Jarvis Sam _ on Instagram. Also, you can follow the show's Instagram page at the Jarvis Sam Show. All right. So a lot has been going on since the last time I recorded. Notably would be the baby situation, right? So a few weeks ago, if you don't know, there was a huge music festival in Miami, Florida. It's called the Rollin Loud Festival, and it's a couple 100,000 people throughout the span of the weekend attend this event, and it's almost every relevant hip hop act out, and even a few acts that aren't relevant perform on this show. But it was a ton of big name rappers and hip hop stars that graced that stage. One of them was Dababy. Dababy has branded himself as the live show killer, and I tell you what, he definitely killed this live show. He made some comments on stage. So a lot of rappers do what's called a call to action in the middle of their sets to kind of get the crowd engaged. It just encourages crowd participation and crowd engagement. And so what Dababy did was he did a call to action. A call to action is where you have, us old heads, if you want to call us old heads, remember, like Fat Man Scoop, if you got a $50 bill, put your hands up. If you got your own hair, put your hands up. Those kind of things, those are call to actions. So during Dababy's call to action, one of the things he said was something along the lines of, if you don't have HIV, put your hands up. And if you're a man and you're not finna be outside sucking D in the parking lot, put your hands up. And he's like, let's be real. That's what's really happening. And da-da-da-da. Those comments spun a whole lot of backlash toward Dababy. Dababy has been under scrutiny ever since his set. He, it was eye-opening how, 1 minute you can be this huge rap star, and the next minute you can be on the verge of being canceled, because cancel culture is super real out here. When you attack, or a certain group feels that you have insulted them or attacked them, they are going to come at you hard and heavy. I did an earlier episode on cancel culture, probably like a year ago. And because that's when I feel like cancel culture was really at its peak, and it continues to be there. Dababy has to, on one end, I feel like Dababy has to understand his position now. Like, you are no longer Jonathan Kirk from Ohio, from Cleveland, Ohio, that can just get on a stage in front of 100,000 people and say whatever it is that comes to your mind, because you are one of the biggest hip hop stars of this time. And when you're a big hip hop star, you are a pop star in this day and age. This day and age, hip hop is pop culture. So if you're a huge hip hop icon, you are a pop star, right? And when you're a pop star, you have to know who your audience is. When you're a pop star, your audience is no longer just a bunch of guys that look like you, that move like you. It's not. It is, your fan base is going to be white people. It's going to be black people. It's going to be Hispanics. It's going to be gay. It's going to be straight. It's going to be transgender. It's going to be all of those things. And you have to know that those people are helping you become as big of a star as you are. And to some extent, you have a responsibility to not insult those people, unless those are people you don't want. Maybe Dababy doesn't want, those people following him. I don't know. But the reality is that's your audience. And the fact that he's issued several apologies afterwards tell me that he wants those fans, because those fans have money, right? So you kind of have a responsibility to kind of know what you're saying, know what you're about to say, and know how it can come across. Once you're out there, once you're a public figure, you kind of have a responsibility to the public. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you said what you said and you just said what you said, hey man, you just gotta have to stand in your square, and you're gonna have to take what is coming to you. Point blank, period. If you gotta take one approach or the other. You either, I said what I said, this is what I meant by it, boom, take it as you are. Because some people are just going to dismiss you and move on, right? But not everybody's gonna cancel you, right? But when you attack a group like that, and so the LGBT community took exception to that. He even has a song. Again, he's a pop star. He has a song with Dua Lipa, I believe her name is, and she came out and basically said that she doesn't support those comments and everything. And there was speculation that she may drop him from the song that's released on all those platforms, because a lot of her fan base is LGBT. And so it put him in a very sticky situation. Again, he's issued a bunch of apologies and whatnot. I heard recently he's just taken an apology down. He has been dropped from so many shows. There was another huge rap festival. I think it's called Lollapalooza or something of that effect. He was dropped from that. He was dropped from something in Austin. But those big music festivals, a lot of the people that are there are going to be from the LGBT community. And like, you just have to know that, like, you can't offend them and think you're going to get away with it. So at the end of the day, Dababy needs to, again, pick a side. Like, are you going to just stand behind what you said and keep moving? Or are you going to continue to apologize and try to right those wrongs? And how are you going to go about righting those wrongs? I saw a bunch of memes. People were saying that he's going to have that moment at the MTV Awards like Elton John and Eminem had several years ago. He's going to have that moment with Lil Nas X, where they kind of walk out and together and whatnot, to kind of bridge the gap, to try to recoup his fans or whatever. But I think Dababy just has to continue to be himself. Eventually, people will forget about this ever even happening. I think he just has to be consistent, but you got to pick a side. You got to pick a side, and you got to be consistent. And I think at the end of the day, like, I don't think the message was I don't think it was ill intent. I think it was a call to action. I think he was into the moment. I don't think he was thinking, oh man, I'm going to go out here and I don't think he had the intent to go out there and offend. But it was definitely a poor choice of words for that call to action. He could have said a million other things. But he chose to say those things. So, he has to pay for it. He has to pay he's got to pay the piper for those actions, right? And it's going to sting for a little bit. I'm sure he's, feeling a lot of it, being dropped from all these shows and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he's got to just be consistent, continue to do what he does. Learn from the mistakes. A lot of people have made mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to not say the right things, right? I mean, sometimes our opinions can come across the wrong way. Like we may think of it one way in our head and then it comes out completely wrong. I can think of things I've said that, hey, that's the way I think. And then I said it and it just doesn't translate the way I wanted it to. But that's where, you got to come back and you got to clarify things and you have to, try to make those wrongs right if that's not your intent. I believe that if something wasn't your intent, you really have to go out there and show the world that like, hey, this was not my intent this is what I was trying to say. This is the intent of the message. And it is what it is. Again, some people are just going to be done with you and those people didn't really support you in the first place. If somebody is that quick to throw you away, that means they never supported you in the first place. It just was the cool thing to do at the moment. And it's cool. I remember not too long, a few weeks ago after the BET Awards, I released a video talking about the Lil Nas X segment from the BET Awards. And I had my opinion about it. And, I got trolled on social media, oh, he's homophobic and this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I know that those things are out there. So I have to be mindful. I have to be mindful of what I'm putting out. I have to be mindful of how I'm coming across because I don't want to come across as something I'm not. If it's who I am, it is who I am. And no one can really, I don't care if anybody takes that the wrong way, if it's truly who I am. But if it's not the essence of my character to feel a certain way or to, I'm definitely not homophobic or anything like that. So I will come out and clarify those things. One thing I won't do, I won't apologize for being unapologetically black and those kind of things that it's going to offend people who are racist. So if you're racist, hey, I'm sorry. I don't need you subscribe to me if you're racist. I really don't. So if you're racist, you wouldn't even be listening to me, period. So I don't even worry about that. But when it comes to things like homophobia and things like that, I want to clear the air. Like, hey, that is definitely not my intent. I do have opinions about, certain things and those opinions won't change, but it doesn't mean that I don't like a particular group of people. Now, Lil Duval, he made some comments on social media that were a little, insensitive towards, women that had just had a baby, right? He made a comment about Erica Mena, basically saying her postpartum must be kicking in or showing up or something to that effect. That is a very, very insensitive comment. And, that one kind of hits close to home. I'm familiar with how postpartum can show up and can be very real. And postpartum can show up in women and men. So again, we have to just be mindful of like the comments that we're making and how it can affect certain people. And maybe him as a comedian thinks that he's just saying something that's funny and putting a spin on it or whatever. Or maybe he's just not educated to what postpartum is and how it can show up and how it's a truly real thing. And that can be very hurtful to somebody. And it's just not cool. So I know that, they were kind of getting at Lil Duval on that one. Things have kind of calmed down. So again, if you just stay consistent and continue to move, those things will pass. But you just got to kind of let things play out. And Lil Duval just kind of put his foot in his mouth a little bit with those comments. But, I believe he's able to bounce back and everything. I don't think it affected him, but really shitty comments for him to make. With regards to cancel culture, one name that always comes to mind is Kanye West. And it seems as though Kanye may just have been uncanceled all of a sudden. Recently, he's been active on social media. When he's active on social media, you know he's got something coming. So as soon as he got active, speculation started happening. They say he was in the lab and working on this new album called Donda. And it was supposed to be released late July. Of course, it didn't happen. It was supposed to be released August 6th, I believe, August 5th or August 6th. And now it's set to be arriving August 15th, I believe, at this point. But the energy seems to be slightly different when it comes to Kanye West right now. He released footage of him in the studio. He has been active. He was at a game not too long ago. He was in the studio with Jay-Z, just hours before the album was supposed to drop a few weeks ago. He was in the lab with Jay-Z, which we hadn't seen in many, many moons, him and Jay-Z working together. So it's a good sign. But again, a lot of people had unsubscribed to Kanye West for a multitude of reasons. Oh, he's married into the Kardashian family. Oh, he doesn't believe in God anymore. Or he doesn't believe in Jesus. Or, when he had the manga hat on and he was, co-signing Donald Trump, it seemed like a lot of energy. People unsubscribed to him for that. All those are reasons. I get it. If you feel strongly about one of those things or the other, I totally get it. But one thing to me you cannot deny for Kanye West is the fact that he's a musical genius, and that when he releases music, it's always good. Like, there's not a bad Kanye West album. You can even, people argue, oh, well, 808s and Heartbreak, even that was a pretty good album. A bad Kanye album is better than most people's best album. And that's just real. So there seems to be a buzz around that. It seems to be people are highly anticipating it. But again, it seemed like a lot of people had unsubscribed to him last year. He was a huge topic, focus of topic in my original cancel culture episode, which was because he was such a divisive, polarizing figure at that point. He was talking about running for president, and he was campaigning, and people were like, oh no, not Kanye and all that. But again, as soon as he gets the studio with Jay-Z, feels like the energy starts changing, right? It's like Jay-Z uncanceled him. So boom, let's move on. And I hate how I feel like cancel culture sometimes exists in the Black community. I feel like we're quick to cancel somebody that looks like us instead of giving them a chance and really seeing what's on their mind, how their mind is working, what could be happening with them. I personally don't agree with everything that Kanye has done over the past several years, right? But at the end of the day, Kanye has been one of the most important artists to me, like in hip hop. Like he's a huge star, but he creates such quality music, and I believe that he has helped others create a lot of quality music as well. And those things can't be denied. And I believe he's a musical genius. I believe he's a musical genius on the level of a Michael Jackson or a Prince, to be quite honest with you. And guys that are geniuses in those arenas typically do not think like the average person. At the core of it, if you truly listen to Kanye West interviews, he says a lot. He has a great perspective on things. But if you're immediately turned off because it's Kanye West and he's going to say something crazy or he's going to spaz out, you are missing kind of the essence of who Kanye West truly is. You really got to get into some of those interviews. He has a interview on Big Boy's show, and it's really good. Like he talks about everything. He talks about how he was canceled before cancel culture was a thing, and it's so true. He's been canceled so many times because of some of his actions. You know, he's been, again, a polarizing figure, but again, one thing you can't deny is his musical genius. One thing that for me that I always thought was like the biggest thing, like to me, Kanye is a huge walking contradiction, but at the core of it, most of us are too. If you live long enough, you're going to contradict yourself. He just happens to contradict himself on this big stage, right? He's the guy that said, when he get on, he going to leave your ass for a white girl and then marries Kim Kardashian. He's the guy who taught us everything from, the joints on, the College Dropout album with, all those nuggets he dropped in those things and really calling out different things in society, right? And then boom, he looks like he's supporting Donald Trump and all these things. So it is, again, he's been a walking contradiction, but I also feel like those things all happened and all those things took a different turn after his mom passed. I feel like he has not coped with that effectively, and it has just translated out in the public's eye. And because if you look, he was very consistent up until that time, but then everything kind of changed after his mom passed. And he was very close with his mom, had a great relationship with his mom. And I think, that whole thing, I think he hasn't coped with it. And I think it's, when you're in that limelight, man, I think it's difficult to cope with things. When you hit so much is on you. He may have not coped with that thing properly, and we just happen to see it play out over and over again in real life. But again, I wasn't a big fan of him appearing to support Donald Trump as somebody who definitely doesn't support Donald Trump. I thought it was a crazy look. I thought it again went against everything that we thought Kanye has stood for. He has stood for the people and black empowerment and all those things. But at the end of the day, like, he also ran against Trump technically, right? When he was on the election ballot, running as an independent with I forgot the gentleman's name who he was running with, but technically he ran against Donald Trump, right? So, again, I think he's a walking contradiction. He really is. He's so conflicted. But again, I think if we're all honest, most of us are as well, right? We just get to kind of hide our contradictions and everything because we're not as big as Kanye West. But back to the black community canceling others. I wish we kept the same energy that we have with our own people when we're ready to cancel them, when we're ready to be allies with other groups that are trying to cancel Dababy and all those things. I wish we had that same energy with canceling other cultures, people from other cultures. If we had that same mentality, we might be able to cancel some people that are really detractors of our issues, and maybe we wouldn't have racist politicians in office all the time. Maybe we wouldn't have to work at racist establishments or establishments that are built on racism, because those people can get on. Those people have to get removed from those seats because we stood in solidarity and we canceled people appropriately. I remember about a little over a year ago, I had a situation where this so-called Christian white lady, or whatever she was, wrote on my timeline on Facebook that Black Lives Don't Matter. And of course I screenshot it, put it everywhere and everything. Now, I was all about canceling her. I was, whatever came with whatever happened to her was cool. But come to find out, like, the lady didn't really have a job, and like she didn't really have a whole lot to cancel. Like, it wasn't like she was a public figure or anything like that. But again, social media, you can find out everything within a matter of minutes, especially if you have the right people looking. Well, people end up finding her son, and they, tried to cancel her son, which I didn't feel was warranted. I don't think he deserved it. He didn't make the comment. He appeared not to even, support the comment. He was, if you look at his Facebook and his Instagram, he has sisters on his Instagram, a lot of sisters following him, and looks like that was his thing. But he had some things going on for himself, and just that quickly, like his employers got contacted and all that. And again, unfortunately, because it's behind Black people, companies don't react on our behalf like that. So if anything, it seemed like the backlash ended up being back on me. Like the heat got back on me, where I had people from his company saying that I had done stuff to his mom, which were completely false. And it was like, but again, it's because, hey, I'm a brother, and hey, this white-owned establishment is always going to part with others versus some random Black guy that they don't even know. And that's why I say it's important that we focus our energy canceling the right things if we're going to do that, right? Cancel the right things. Let's get the right people in the right positions and remove people who aren't. When people do bad things, we can't just sweep it under the rug because we think we're going to get in trouble. And that's what happens. We don't think we're big enough to cancel other cultures, but we think we're big enough to cancel each other. And, that is one thing that keeps white supremacy alive more than anything, is the fact that there's very little solidarity in our culture to really make forward progress. So as long as we're against each other, Pimp C has that Knocking Doors Down song where he says, as long as we divide it, they gonna run it. You know what I'm saying? So as long as they can figure out ways to keep us divided, we'll always, come up short. It's the same thing that kept, from back in slavery, when you had the house Negroes and the field Negroes. They tried to keep them separate and tried to keep them against each other. And it's the same thing that is just translated generation after generation. But we got to stop canceling our own. We got to empower them. We got to put the right people in place to help them out. Who does Dababy have around him? Does Dababy have people around him that give him the right information, that say, hey, this is your demographic now. 80% of your clients or your listeners are from here and this and that. Like, who's running these analytics and giving him this information and really on his team? Or is it just a bunch of Negroes trying to get handouts and not giving him the right information? So again, it's really important who you keep around you, because the right people around you can keep you grounded, can give you the right information, can help you out, can help you not make a costly mistake that could cost you money. Because at the end of the day, when you are a public figure, the public pays you, but the public is also all in your business. And as soon as you do something that a particular group takes exception to, you better believe your career could be on the line. Because it's very easy for your career to go from being best-selling rapper to doing being on the Millennium Tour, or selling out little club venues here and there in your local areas. And that's not, Dababy has worked very hard to get to where he's at, I believe. I'm not a huge fan of the guy. He has a couple of songs that I like, but he's not for me. He's for this generation. But at the end of the day, like, the guy made a mistake. He shouldn't be canceled for the little mistake he made. If he's truly homophobic, he hates gay people and wishes malice on gay people and all that, hey, that's on him. He gonna have to live with that. It's gonna continue to manifest no matter what happens in this situation. It'll continue to happen because that's just who he is. But I don't think he had ill intent when he made the comment. I think he was just into the moment, and like I said, he's just paying the price right now. Hopefully he can bounce back, just being consistent. But anyway, that is this week's episode. I just, again, let's not cancel each other. Let's cancel those that really need to be canceled, the ones that are truly holding us back. Because I can tell you right now, Dababy's not holding us back. Those comments aren't holding us back, but there's a lot of things that are holding us back and a lot of people that could be held accountable for their actions. And I think this is one where we just should fall back and let the chips fall where they may. But this shouldn't be something that we're fighting against. But anyway, thanks for listening to this episode. Again, smash the subscribe button wherever you are. Also, give me a follow on Instagram. That's JarvisSam_ on Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Catch y'all next week.